Hi, Star. Look at you walking all fancy and stuff. You're not causing trouble, you're sharing.
There you go. There you go. I always have one. I missed you guys.
Well, yeah, that's great. I got your daughter.
How are you? Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. How's your summer been? You're looking good. She always looks good. She does. What do I owe
Like taking down the station.
I was going to ask you about your Tracy.
She found it.
I need some words from you.
This one, I don't know.
Thank you for letting me know.
I'm gonna need
Your class over my class classified as certain. So there was.
Then they said, but then they come to you and say you girl. And it was empty her. She said, but now I'm
Yeah. Oh, no, and I appreciate that.
and then everyone else is
She always
Welcome back. How's the year going?
one of my kinder teachers on the science national award. It is a program. But it is a certification that we
All right, take care.
Can I found the right
Hi, Valerie. Thanks for the call. Really? Hi guys. How are y'all doing? All right. Pretty good, guys.
Just us, so. I only have two things.
Good. Lori and Sue.
I'd like to call to order the July 8th, 2025 regular board meeting for Kingman Unified School District. If we could all stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Lori Grant here.
Susan Collins here.
Roger Cox here.
And we have a quorum. We have a call to the audience. Per Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01, the board will listen to the public but will not respond except as permitted by that statute. The board may refer the item to administration or request to have it placed on a future agenda, and each speaker will have 3 minutes. First, I have Star Jensen.
Oh, I've missed you guys.
There's room for another chair up there.
Vice President Grant, Dr. Dorner, and board members, I come before you as a concerned citizen of Dolan Springs and as a representative of others who reside in and around the attendance area for Mount Tipton School. When I first moved here in 2012, Mount Tipton was a K-12 school. In 2013-2014, the 7th through 12th grade was moved to Kingman schools. We learned at the end of this school year that the 6th grade will now no longer be served at Mount Tipton School, but will instead be bused to Black Mountain in Golden Valley for classes. Our students are already at a travel disadvantage in that they live miles away from Mount Tipton and spend a lengthy amount of time on the school bus to attend school. Our students reside in and include White Hills, Chloride, Mead View, and others, and have in the past included Temple Bar and Willow Beach. Our area goes all the way down to the border. Busing them to Black Mountain will add that time that they spend on a bus. This extra time on a bus means less time for sleep and for homework for the students. Where was the notification and communication with the communities involved? I looked back at the agendas and I saw nothing on it concerning moving our sixth graders out of Dolan Springs. I remember in past years, the superintendent and the school board president meeting with the community and discussing changes coming to the school and the reasons for it. This time the community had no knowledge this was coming and no input. Our community is growing, or at least it was, but without a fully functioning school, fewer and fewer families are willing to move here. When they learn their children may have to ride the bus for a longer period of time on the most dangerous highway in the United States to school every day, they no longer want to invest living there. I've been told that we chose to live way out here. Well, yes, we did, but at the time there was a fully functioning K-12 school. As citizens of Dolan Springs and surrounding communities, we pay taxes to support our local school. Where does our portion of the money go when our students are bused to Golden Valley and Kingman? Without people moving into our communities and building our tax base up, we could lose our local businesses and fire department, as well as anybody that was considering moving here. Busing students on one of the most dangerous highways in the state for a long distance, you know, is not good. More input and communication needed to happen before decisions were made concerning our students and families and your constituents. Since no longer being on the school board, I have not seen anyone other than President Henry a couple times come to Dolan Springs to even check on the school, and no one has come to discuss the move of the sixth grade with the community before making the change. I understand you don't have to talk to anyone before making this change, the pedestal syndrome. But if you truly care about our students, citizens, and community, you would have. I suggest a town hall meeting is in order and needs to be held when locals can make it, not during the day when everybody works. I'm disappointed to say the least in what has transpired concerning our sixth grade. Is K-5 next?
Start.
Thank you.
Next, we have Vince. Am I Salome?
Close enough, Salmu, just like
Sal.
Shannon.
Hello, board members. Thank you, everybody, for letting us come in to your meeting. We've been asleep for a little while, haven't attended enough meetings. My name is Vince Salmo. I'm a local business owner out there. Trying to open up a new store, grocery store, spending a tremendous amount of money, over $1.7 million, putting in that location so the town can have a proper store. My wife's a broker, real estate broker, a realtor, my daughter also. We've seen the firsthand effects of what's been going on when our school's being strip mined of grades. One of the questions my wife gets immediately is, do you have properties that inexpensive, that affordable in Dolan Springs? When she says yes, they're excited. Second question, third question always seems to be, what does your school go to? The minute she tells them, you know, 6th grade, 7th grade, it's been a constant click. They all know that includes busing their children. So we are losing families to move out here, to move out to our areas. We saw it when Roger Jacks was on board. I stood there when that school was going through that transition, and he came in and took out the different grades. And we saw the decline of people moving there, families moving there, and now it's happening all over again. We want you to know that we think there's other solutions other than just coming in and keep taking grades away. You're hurting our economy out there. Just like you want us to bus one way, why don't you bus children the other way? There's so many solutions, I'm just throwing that out there, that just strip mining the school is not the only way to go. We need help, we need our community to keep growing. You've got propane companies out there, you've got my businesses are out there, the different realtors, you've got a big hardware store that does all the septic work around town, you've got a couple dollar stores. We've all invested a lot of time and money. We own properties, we pay our taxes, and now we're watching the community shrink. It's not growing at all, period. Properties are being sold, people aren't moving there. And a lot of it is to do with schools. Elderly people seem to be kind of moving in, but that doesn't help for families. So we want you to know that we want to start talking to you guys. We know that no decision is going to be rechanged today. I brought a lot of people from our community out here to let you know that we are concerned. There's more that want to come. We want to start having open communication and finding other solutions to this and adding our grades back. We want our school back. We understand budgets, budgets can be tweaked. I've been doing this all my life in business. So we want you to know that we're here and we want to start participating and coming to some better solutions other than opening our own private schools, taking that money out of the district. That's not a great way, but I know it's over $1 million or so to do it, and we would get that money and open private schools. We almost did it with the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other call to the audience? Item number 5, reports, superintendent back to school, Dr. Dorner.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, it's nice to be back in July. School starts next Wednesday, July 17th. It's hard to believe that June went so quickly. I would be remiss, I know we don't respond to calls to the public, but I am happy to come and meet with all of you. I will be calling you privately to set up a meeting. We have done a lot of data research on not only the revenue, because I've seen, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'll move on to our numbers and our staffing and our students. I've seen some of the reports that the optics are that the district is taking the money that revenue comes in from that area and spending in other schools. So we have done very extensive research on the student population at every school. We're not focusing just at Mount Tipton, but we've researched every school, the population, the cohorts on each campus, the revenue that comes in, the cost for staff, utilities, overhead, grounds, facilities, and maintenance, and then we're doing a per pupil cost analysis. I can tell you generally, and again, I'm happy to meet in a town hall in Mount Tipton. We've had town halls here, that we are spending approximately $8,200 per pupil. We did an FY25 on the Mount Tipton campus. Compared to similar grade ranges in the Kingman area, it's $6,000 to $7,000. So we're not spending less, we're spending more. The revenue does not meet the cost. But again, I do agree, there's an opportunity for conversations, and we will do that. So moving on to the back to school, our student population is very similar. It's tricky. I pulled all of the reports for every school. We have the warm body enrollments, students that are in our database, and then we have the new enrollments or the transfer students that are in our queue. At the K-8 level, they're very similar last year going into this year with some new growth, some new student growth, a little bit of transfer between schools. Most kindergartens are similar. They're a little bit down, but school doesn't start till next week, so all those kindergarten parents will wait till the last minute. We'll see those numbers. At the high school level, it's super busy. It's like a super busy highway right now. Lee Williams High School is sitting around 1,000 students, Kingman High a little over 900, and Cola is about 250, but in their queue between the three of them are 250 more students. So those campuses are working diligently to get all of the students processed to see where they all land. But it looks like our high schools will be up in numbers this year. So student enrollment looks solid. I'll give you actual numbers after all of the queues and all the settling for the first day of school. Our staffing is also looking very good. Most schools are fully staffed. We have Black Mountain, for example, that is, I believe, still searching for a guidance counselor unless you made a recommendation. Other than that, they're doing really well. They have one long-term vacancy sub. Servat is looking good. Wallapai is staffed. Desert Willow is staffed. La Sanita has one position that they're looking to fill. Both high schools are staffed, both middle schools are staffed. So we're really ahead of the curve this year when it comes to staffing. We have a few vacancy subs, but most positions are filled. We have a shout out to Assistant Superintendent Eastman, who ran our new teacher induction yesterday. We had an excellent turnout and an awesome day. Everybody's super excited to come back. We look forward to seeing you. I will, on all the Meet the Teachers, we invite board members. The schedule is available through Ms. Portillo, our communication manager. Between Shelley and I, we'll be at all of them, and then I am visiting every campus Thursday, Monday, and Tuesday to give a welcome to all of the staff. So we're super excited and we're off to a good start.
Wonderful, thank you.
Fantastic.
Great.
Any questions from the board? Next item is board reports. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? No? Item 6, approve the routine orders of business. So if I could get a motion.
I move that we approve the routine orders of business.
I'll second that.
Wonderful. Although, is there any discussion? Anything that'd like to be pulled?
I didn't see anything.
And I know that Tony is online, or President Henry, but I don't know how good her service is.
Okay.
So, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 7. Approve the district representatives who will be participating in the special education individual education plans for the 25-26 school year.
Good evening, Vice President Grant and members of the board. We're here for our annual district rep approvals. These individuals serve in all UP meetings, and they serve as the district's point of contact. They're the ones who can make those final decisions, and we're asking that you approve everyone on the list.
Any questions?
So are these representatives people who are getting special training or have had special training already?
They receive a training every year, yes.
Okay. So this is the recognition of them. They've received training.
Correct.
I move to approve the list as is.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, second reading of changes in policy as recommended by ASBA, and there's a long list.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, if you have any questions on all of these policies, which are really just language changes, please feel free to ask at this time.
Is there any questions from the board?
I didn't have any.
If not, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the changes.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any other questions? Aye. Perfect. Item number 9, which is approved for possible action to approve the IGA between Kingman Unified School District and Mojave County for use of the Mojave County Fairgrounds to provide shelter for Kingman Middle School students and personnel should a safety emergency arise.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, the reason this is on the agenda is because Mojave County requires an IGA to be used as the backup. The other schools also have second locations for evacuations, but in this case, they want the formal agreement. So we request that we approve the Mojave County Fairgrounds as shelter for Kingman Middle during an emergency.
Is there any questions or discussion?
What's an IGA exactly?
Intergovernmental agreement. So the IGA just spells out liability and what we're agreeing to.
The fairgrounds makes the most sense for Kingman Middle School. It's the closest,
Yes.
structure. I move to approve that.
Wonderful.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 10, possible action to approve an MOU between WACOG Head Start and Kingman Unified School District regarding the provision of transition services to the Head Start children.
Good evening, Vice President Grant and members of the board. We're asking for approval on our MOU as required by the Improving Head Start for School Readiness Act of 2007. Local education authority agencies must collaborate with Head Start programs to ensure smooth student transitions to kindergarten. This MOU formalizes the partnership between KUSD and WACOG and outlines how we will work together to promote kindergarten readiness for children transitioning from Head Start to their home schools.
Any questions? And if not, can I get a motion?
This is a continuation of what we've done previously, correct?
Correct. We typically sign a 2-year MOU with them.
Okay. I move to approve it.
Is there a second?
I'd like to ask just a couple of questions.
Oh, absolutely. If you second it, I'll open it back up for discussion.
Sorry for the questions. What is MOU and what is WACOG?
WACOG is the Head Start agency. MOU is a memorandum of understanding. It's just an agreement between us and the agency on what we are agreeing to do and what they're agreeing to do.
I see, okay. I'll second the motion then.
Is there any other questions? And if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect, item passes. Item number 11, which is a possible action to approve, and I think it's an MOU, not an MOA.
This is
that?
actually an MOA, a memorandum of agreement.
Okay.
But at this point, we're going to ask to table this because there's some wording within the agreement that we want to verify and make sure is accurate. And we would like to bring it back next month.
Absolutely, and just for those that are at home, it is a MOA between WACOG and Head Start with KUSD for the preschool special education services to eligible students. And there is a request to table. Is there a motion to table?
I'll move to table.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so item 11 will be tabled till next month. Item 12, possible action to approve the IGA between Arizona Department of Education and Kingman Unified School District regarding the special education teacher tuition assistance program.
All right, in alignment with KUSD's strategic plan to recruit and retain qualified staff, we are requesting board approval to participate in the Get Set or the SETA program. This year we have a paraeducator who was selected last year through an interview process who has been accepted into the program. By us approving this tonight, it allows tuition reimbursement while this young man works towards becoming a certified special education teacher. This is something we've done in the past. Ms. Skousen, our TOA at La Sanita, actually went through the program from the teacher to end. So this is our first time having a paraeducator working towards it.
Is there a requirement that the teachers stay with the district for a certain period of time after the certification is obtained?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
But they have to, so what they do is they put out the money to start. So like Mr. Nahara will go to college, he'll pay his bill. Once his grades come in, then he submits the grades and the cost to us, and then he gets reimbursed.
How is a paraeducator able to get a special education teaching certification, not being a certified teacher?
He won't be a teacher at first. He'll be able to go to school and continue to work towards that. He'll still work in the capacity as a paraeducator.
Is he a paraeducator in a regular ed classroom or special?
He's in a special education classroom
Okay.
right now. He works in our essentials program at Malapine.
Okay.
Are there any other paraeducators who are interested in this program or opportunity?
We're allowed to select one, so we had an interview process with Ms. Mareshi. She went through and she got all the questions back. Everyone completed a questionnaire, and then she put them all in a little graph format. Dr. Dorney, Ms. Mareshi, and I went through and we each selected the candidate that had the responses, and we all came to the same conclusion. It was like, we didn't know who had applied.
It was a blind score.
A blind, okay.
How many candidates were there?
There were 4 different candidates who applied. We did have one teacher apply who was awarded it, but then that teacher declined it after she got the award.
I mean, is there such a shortage of funds that we can't help more?
This is fund the state. It's a fund from the state, and they allow us to do one.
Okay.
So
I'm
we're
glad
thankful for the one they let us do.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly support this.
Absolutely.
It'd be nice if we could do it for more, but I strongly support this proposal for sure.
Wonderful. Is there any other questions? Otherwise, can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Item number 13 is a book that has been on display for the required 60 days, starting May 13th, 2025. They are the English for Cambridge, English When Breath Becomes Air by Dr. Paul Calamity. Go ahead.
Vice President Grant and members of the board, this novel, When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Calamity, was presented to the Curriculum Committee on April 29th. High School English Department Chairs Debbie Topp from Lee Williams High School and Kathy Judd Woods from Kingman High School presented how the novel would be used to support instruction in English for Cambridge AS / dual credit English language courses and Cambridge AS general paper English classes. After reviewing the proposal, the curriculum committee voted to bring the novel to the board for possible approval. The novel went on display at the May 13th board meeting for the required 60 days. There have been no public comments about this novel.
And I have not received any feedback. Any questions from the board?
What are the activities and topics that are going to be covered in the instruction?
I can grab my notes from our curriculum committee and I can share those with you. But there was discussion about struggles. I know Dr. Dorner was there. There was discussions about struggles that people face in their lives and how they could tie that to their own experiences. And I can also follow up in an email with some of the other activities that they had.
Okay.
You also have the teachers present
Oh,
here.
thank you. I didn't get that. So yeah, I can turn that over to Mrs. Talk and Mrs. Woods.
How exciting. I didn't know you get to come up to the podium.
No, I was really hoping
Thank you.
So I can speak for the English 101 AS Lane class. The premise of the class, when you look at the dual credit aspect of it, is everything is an argument. So the students will do it as an independent reading at home, discuss it in class, and they come up with their own arguments throughout the book. Paul Kalanithi is a local author. I think we're familiar with it. So they'll resonate with that a little bit more, but it covers all different kinds of aspects from science to history to philosophy to medicine. I mean, everything is in this book, so they can formulate their own arguments and really learn that analysis process with it.
And then the Cambridge AS General Paper, as Kathy just said, the novel covers all of the topics that are in that class. As far as activities, and for English 4, for senior English, the book is actually one of the books that are in Study Sync, which is the English program that we're piloting right now. So it is a 12th grade book. And then for activities, you had asked, I don't know if you want specifics. I know Kathy and I both do a lot of Socratic seminars, so a lot of discussion. And Cambridge really promotes reflection, self-reflection, and that is something that this novel will bring in, is a lot of self-reflection.
I think this is a great novel to have, and especially in those situations, because it's local, it's tied to our community, that brings relevance to our students, and it also brings in a lot of struggles that they're dealing with in their own lives. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall to listen to your Socratic seminars.
I agree. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve When Breath Becomes Air.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 14, education, life skills, early intervention curriculum courses that have been on display for the required 60 days starting May 13th.
Vice President Grant and members of the board, this life skills curriculum was presented to the curriculum committee on April 29th. Parent liaison and discipline hearing officer Stacy Mayo presented how this curriculum has been piloted over the past year, with students referred to administration for discipline infractions. The classes help students overcome the behaviors that cause the referrals. After reviewing the proposal, the curriculum committee voted to bring the curriculum to the board for possible approval. The curriculum went on display at the May 13th board meeting for the required 60 days. I have not received any public comments about it.
Any questions from the board? Otherwise, is there a motion?
I move to approve it.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Item 15, a book that has been on display for the required 60 days starting May 13th. It is a short story to be used for 10th grade, Harrison Bergeron.
I'm going to say Bergeron, but
yeah, okay.
Vice President Grant and members of the board, the short story Harrison Bergeron by Kurt Vonnegut was presented to the curriculum committee on April 29th. High school English teacher Dejana Ware provided information about how the short story would be used to support instruction in English 2 classes. After reviewing the proposal, the curriculum committee voted to bring the short story to the board for possible approval. This short story went on display at the May 13th board meeting for the required 60 days. I have not received any public comments about it.
Any questions from the board?
I don't have any.
Can I get a motion?
I move to approve it.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 16, a book that has been on display for the last 60 days, starting May 13th. It'll be supplemental material at the high school level, U.S. History online, free by downloading the OpenStax United States History textbook.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, this textbook, U.S. History, published as a free open education resource by OpenStax, was presented to the Curriculum Committee on April 29th. High school social studies teacher Ron Baer presented how the textbook would supplement instruction in U.S. history courses and the course that was approved at the course that had been approved at the April board meeting, films of the 20s through World War II. After reviewing the proposal, the Curriculum Committee voted to bring this textbook to the board for possible approval. It went on display at the May 13th board meeting for the required 60 days. I have not received any public comments about the textbook.
Any questions from the board? Otherwise, is there a motion?
The only question I have, does the textbook company edit or change the content after it's purchased? Is it a live document after we agree to it?
I'm assuming Mr. Bear is sitting back there, so
Yeah,
yes.
any updates they do is automatic.
Okay.
And that's why it's nice to have an OpenStax book, because it's a college level book, and it's just updated for colleges, so we get that benefit too.
Okay. That was my only question. Anything?
Any other questions?
Well, it sounds like a good book, but I'm always curious as to whether or not some of these books actually document what really happened in history, or
This one does.
there's some
This
kind
one
of
follows
bias.
our main book. We haven't had a U.S. history book in 15 years. So that tells you where our history is right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is an up-to-date history book that follows right along with our curriculum.
Okay, is it well recommended and?
Yes, this is an AP recommended book, actually.
I see,
At
okay.
AP level, so.
Okay. But that's what's important to me. It's, you know, accurate depiction of history. Yeah.
Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve the new supplemental material?
I move to approve the new supplemental materials.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 17, films that have been on display for the required 60 days starting May 13th. And it is the films for the new course, films of the 20s through World War II.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, these films were presented to the Curriculum Committee on April 29th. High school social studies teacher Ron Baer presented how these films will be used as the curriculum for the course that was approved at the April board meeting, films of the 20s through World War II. After reviewing the proposal, the Curriculum Committee voted to bring the films to the board for approval. These films went on display at the May 13th board meeting for the required 60 days. I have not received any public comments about any of the films.
Is there any questions from the board, or is there a motion?
So the students will have access to these films in the classroom, or?
They will be part of Mr. Baer's curriculum as he's teaching the course.
These are actually online videos. They're all, because of the age, obviously, I mean, you're talking 1920s, 30s, and 40s. So they're all online, all available online, but the way I see it, we would cover one, then we talk about, they would study first the historical time period, watch the video, and then read glue in with how that video relates to history of that time period.
Sounds.
I think it's going to be amazing because the lens that those films were shot in is a different lens than what we currently look through. And so the discussion at the high school level, I think, is going to be amazing.
Yes.
And I have the curriculum, the syllabus, and the lesson, one lesson plan for modern times. I think it is right here if you want to see it. So.
Yeah, I think this would be really nice, because I remember taking history when I was in high school, and all it was reading and looking at a book, and this is great.
Yeah, one of my favorite social studies courses in high school, we studied films from a sociological point of view, and it was I loved it. I think it's going to be very engaging and relevant.
Any other questions from the board, or is there a motion?
I'd just like to say thank you to this gentleman here for developing this curriculum, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very nice.
I move to approve the films.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 18, approve the select vendors as a district-approved vendor for fundraising.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, approval from the governing board will allow schools to continue to use popular vendors for fundraisers. Community discount cards offer discounts from local businesses on credit card size cards, good for 1 year and sell for $15. The club keeps 50% of the profit of each card sold. The district spent $878 with community discount cards in FY25. Victory Fundraising is a yearly fundraising vendor for Kingman High and Lee Williams athletic teams to sell discount cards that provide extra perks to local businesses, and the district spent $1,882 in FY25. SAC fundraising programs include selling candles, cookie dough, popcorn, jelly beans, discount cards. Orders can be placed with the student or links can be sent to the order online. The district did not spend with SAC fundraising in FY25, but it has been popular in previous years. World's Finest Chocolate is an easy fundraising program for students where they're able to sell chocolate to raise funds for extracurricular programs or clubs. And the district spent $19,500 in FY25.
Any questions from the board? Have we noticed if our fundraising year to year is going up or down or equivalent? Like, does our community want something different?
It's amazing how much they really raise. I haven't looked over the course of the years since I've been here to see which way we're going. But the clubs and our athletic teams do a really good job. They fundraise a lot and for the most part cover a lot of their expenses.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I long for a world where school groups do not have to fundraise for basic needs.
It's really good business experience though as well. Learning how to sell and buy, and are you making money or are you losing on your fundraisers? It's good material. I wish they didn't have to, but it's good experience as well.
Item number 19 is approve the recommendation to renew the contract RFP 24-03-29 for the athletic training services banner physical therapy with the additional amendment to service agreement for a third year of a 5-year award.
Vice President Grant and members of the board, approval by the governing board for renewal of this contract allows the district to continue services with banner physical therapy to provide athletic trainer services. Addition of the amendment to the services agreement allows Kingman Unified to hire the contracted employee to teach classes to students at the high school level. The purpose of the RFP 2403-29 was to contract with a qualified vendor to provide an athletic trainer for both high schools. Each trainer will get 40 hours during the week to be available during practice and games at home. During football season, the trainer will travel to away games and overtime hours are allowed when approved in advance to cover weekend tournaments. This is a 1-year renewal with the option to renew for an additional 2 1-year contract periods based on vendor performance and funding availability. And spending in FY25 was $85,665.
Questions from the board?
So the physical therapy clinic provides athletic trainer services to Kingman Unified School District employees?
Yes, so we've had one contracted full-time for Kingman High School. Banner was not able to find us 2 for each high school. So we've had one for Kingman High and he has helped at Lee Williams on a limited basis.
Okay, great. And what does the athletic trainer do exactly? What kind of training? If you know, I mean, just a vague
I don't know all the
idea.
specifics.
I can answer that.
Oh, good.
Athletic trainer actually is required by AIA that you have somebody present, especially during the physical sports, that can attend to head injuries or other physical injuries and give those students that first responder treatment. They also do pre-game injury prevention by wrapping and taping and doing assessments. They will often work alongside the sports medicine programs at the high school, so they'll have student trainers in tow at these events, but it's meeting the AIA requirement and putting safety of athletes to the front.
Sounds really good.
I have a question about the overtime and them teaching classes. And so, do you know how this looks? Like, would they be a guest speaker, or are they gonna be responsible for running a classroom and then making overtime as they do, like, events?
Yeah, so the amendment actually allows us to hire him directly. Per the original contract, we would not be allowed to do that, but we reached out. We would like him to teach at Kingman High sports medicine. So he'll be teaching 2 classes, but he'll be hired through us directly for that.
So it's 2 separate funds, it won't feed into the overtime?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the board? Is there a motion?
I move to accept.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 20, approve Margot Jones as the authorized designee to approve the disposal and sales of assets for fiscal year 2026.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, approval from the governing board will designate myself, Margaret Jones, as the authorized designee to approve stewardship and capital asset disposals and sales during FY26 to ensure disposals are in accordance with the USFR and Arizona Administrative Code, AAC R7-1131. Stewardship items are defined as having a value of $1,000 or more, and capital assets are valued at $5,000 or more.
Any questions from the board, or is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 21, approve check signers for the district bank accounts for fiscal year 26.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, approval from the governing board will authorize the following check signers for the district bank accounts. Gretchen Dorner and Margot Jones as signers for the ACH and tax accounts. Gretchen Dorner, Margot Jones, and Donna Epigenetti as signers on the credit card pass-through account. And Gretchen Dorner, Margot Jones, and Tanya Green as signers for the food service account.
Any questions from the board, or is there a motion?
So in other words, they're signing the checks or the bills or for, like, if we buy food. talking
So
about
these are all just pass-through accounts that we use for either payroll, tax, credit cards, and food service. And so it allows us to sign checks to be able to move money from those accounts to our main treasury account with the county.
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 22, approve Ms. Jones as student activities treasurer for Arizona Revised Statute 15-1122.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, approval from the governing board will designate myself, Margot Jones, as the student activities treasurer for FY26 per ARS 151122. A student activities treasurer should be appointed to oversee the student activity funds, which accounts for all money raised by student efforts for student organizations or clubs, including deposits, disbursements, and expenditures, and ensure they meet the guidelines and the USFR.
Any questions from the board, or is there a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 23, approve extension of the contract with Compass Group SSC as a contracted provider for facilities, grounds, and maintenance for the 25-26 school year.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, the district recommends the board approve the contract extension with Compass Group SSC as KUSD's contracted provider for facilities, grounds, and maintenance for the 25-26 school year in the amount of $5,850,737. This is a one-year contract with the option to renew for an additional 4 one-year contracts, dependent on vendor performance and district funds. SSC has 90 employees assigned to KUSD, including HVAC technicians, a plumber, an electrician, general technicians, locksmiths. They have supervisors, managers, groundskeepers.
Why is it an extension and not just a new contract?
So they're technically on a 1 GPA contract, and so we just renew on a 1-year basis. We're looking at extending it for a 5-year period, but it still has to be renewed every year.
Okay, so the extension's like equivalent to a renewal?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. That makes sense.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve the contract.
I second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Item 24, request a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and go into a public hearing or meeting for discussion of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026.
I move to adjourn the regular meeting and go into a public meeting for discussion of the budget for fiscal year 2026.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. So now we are in a public hearing for the purpose of the discussion for the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026.
Vice President Grant, members of the board, our proposed budget this year looks very similar to last year's revised budget in May. We are starting with an estimated ADM equal to our fiscal year 25 ending ADM. As our ADM fluctuates throughout the year, we'll capture those changes on our revised budgets later in the year. In previous years, there has been a 2% increase. Oh, shoot. I think I printed off the wrong one. I sent you guys the wrong one. This was before we received the 2% inflation that we were going to be getting it. So the state finally passed their budget. It was in the interim when I was writing these, so I apologize. We are receiving a 2% increase to our base limit. And so that was captured on the budget that was sent to you guys. That looks like about $100 per weighted ADM, which for us is about $1 million increase. So that's great news for our already tight budget. However, if we look back at previous years from FY24 to FY25, we've lost 200 students. And so that's also about $1 million. So that could be a wash. However, Dr. Dorner also just mentioned that our ADM is looking great. So that's something that we'll look towards this year as we go. We get updates monthly on our ADM. And so that's something that we'll continue to look
We
at.
are still deficit spending. You know, we've talked about that at every workshop and every budget, that our overall budget limit 55 million. We spend more than we take in revenue, so we are still spending in our reserves, which is why it's super important that we're always in conversations on the students we have, the staffing that we maintain, fiscally responsible spending habits. Director Jones and her staff has encumbered for FY26 pretty much all of our known expenses, so we have a pretty good predictor. And once all of our student enrollment is defined on the first 10 days of school, then we can come back in August and give you a really good idea of where we're headed and what our plan is.
It's hard to tell at this period of time exactly because we haven't finished FY25. We haven't finished paying for everything. And so we're not sure exactly where we're landing for FY25 and not knowing where our ADM is yet. So it's a hard transition period in July and August.
And for anyone who would like to see the budget, because there are so many numbers in it, we couldn't go through it all here. It is posted.
It is on our website.
And if you would explain where that is so anybody watching or present can read that.
Yeah, so if you go to the website, kusd.org, I believe it's under, is it staff and then departments, or we're looking it up right now.
And what is ADM while you're looking that up? What does that mean?
That is our average daily membership. So if you go to, is it Explore, About, and then Departments, and then Business and Finance, and then scroll down to the bottom, there's budget information, the proposed budget expenditure, which in a few days that will change to adopted if that's approved tonight. You can also, that takes you to the Arizona Department website where you can look at our budget, you can find budgets for previous years, other school budgets, and so that is there. There are a lot of numbers and a lot of tabs. It's a long Excel spreadsheet of 12 different tabs and lots of little numbers, but it is available for anybody to
It's easy
look
to read if you read the columns. I know you guys are used to reading it, and we are. And if anybody ever wants to meet with us and go over it, we're happy to do that.
Absolutely.
And I know there was a concern about federal funding and how that plays into our budget. Have we heard anything else?
Yes, so we have recently received information from Arizona Department of Education that the U.S. Department of Education has put a halt on several of our funds, which to our district totals to about $700,000. All other funds have gone through, but right now they're on a hold. Either the programs will be dissolved or they may just hold the money until an idea of what that budget will be. But we've already put some plans into place to, if there's any staff that was involved, we are looking at how we're gonna cover those salaries. We may just need to reduce the type of outside of the school hour activities that we present. Might be our biggest hit.
And I did forward the board a copy of your email and the state's notice.
And do you know what programs are gonna be most financially hit?
Our 21st Century program at Mount Tipton and Black Mountain is currently on the hold and may possibly be dissolved, but again, they have not stated which way, and they said as soon as any information is available, each district will be notified immediately. So we have been, my grant manager, Michelle Cook, she is consistently on the website and checking in our advanced management program, and as soon as we hear an update, we will. Everything else is more for activities that we do for our mentors, our new teachers support, and different type of programs that we offer for those teachers that are in training, like professional development.
And again, for those present or those watching, there's a very delineated difference between federal funds and M&O dollars. The M&O dollars are the funds, the revenue that comes from enrollment of pupils at about $5,200 baseline per pupil. That's our M&O fund that pays salaries and in operations, and then the federal funds are the supplemental funds, and those are the funds that have been halted.
Okay. But we do have a rural school funding source that may be able to sustain our 21st Century at a limited capacity, even if that program is dissolved going into the this school year. So
What is the 21st Century program?
It is, well, actually, if I could, we have, Michelle Cook is our 21st
Everyone
Century
gets a time on the podium.
coordinator, and if you want to.
Vice President Grant and members of the board. 21st Century Community Learning Centers is a grant that is bestowed to schools that really need extra support, not just with academics, but the whole well-rounded experience for students. So a lot of times when people say, what can I do with 21st Century? I'll ask the question, what would you ask your students, or how would you answer the question, why do I need to know this? And take that idea and give them project-based activities, well-rounded opportunities, and secretly embed tutoring into it so that the kiddos don't know they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
But it also provides a really great outlet for a large population of our students at both of those campuses, and it also provides a supper program.
Wonderful, thank you.
And how many families do we have that currently participate in the 21st Century program?
Mr. Jaworski and Mr. Brantingham could probably answer that.
Out at Black Mountain, depending on if it's summer school activities, we run about 80 students. Throughout the year, we will touch with 146 students in our programs, depending on who signs up for what classes. And then it provides supports within the school too. Our coordinator is in constant contact with students and families.
Okay. Because I know that's a vital program in those communities for those students and families.
We're very hopeful that it's on hold and not dissolved.
They also offer a lot of parent engagement and family support. Mr. Branningham, I believe, is almost 90% of your school.
So, yeah, we get a great turnout with our students. About 90% of our students attend our after-school programs. They do everything from athletics, arts, get a little extra academics in there as well. So it's a worthwhile program that we run out there.
Absolutely.
Is there any question?
Is there any other questions or discussion? And this is open.
You want me to continue? Okay. So the primary and secondary tax rates that are listed on the budget are an estimate based on preliminary calculations and will officially get set with the county in August. So overall, our revenue control limit is $55,689,000 plus the $1 million inflation increase. This takes into consideration our estimated weighted ADM and transportation support, including an allocation for daily route miles and eligible students transported. We also have a district additional assistance at about $3.8 million, and that's based on a calculated growth factor from prior year's ADM and additional support for high schools. So the total revenue from the state will be about $59,500,000. This allocation then gets split between M&O and capital funds, and then our carryover from those funds is added. Our carryover is estimated right now, because we haven't finalized the current fiscal year, as I was mentioning. Our M&O carryover is estimated at about $5.8 million and capital at about $3.5. Currently, we are budgeted to use some of this carryover in FY26. We've talked about our carryover a few times now this year. It's great to have that reserve, but we also don't want to deplete it. There's too much financial risk in not having a really healthy reserve. So it's the commitment of the executive team and the district to find creative ways to cut spending while not negatively impacting the education of our students, the function of the district, or our ability to recruit and retain talented employees. The goal is to get ahead of our expenditures so to maintain our financial security. Yeah. Yes.
How much of that carryover money could be used to put our sixth grade back for right now?
The carryover only lasts so long, and so part of our problem is that we're continuing to use a great portion of our carryover every year. So if we continue to use it at the rate we're using it, we will be out of funds, we'll be out of a carryover, out of savings in the matter of a couple of years.
But I don't know what you're using it for, so this is a specific purpose.
We're using it for all kinds of different things right now. Some of it for longevity stipends, some of it to maintain buildings, some of it in previous years to have smaller class sizes, salaries, things like that. But again, looking at your carryover, it only lasts if you continue to use it. And so that's something that we have to balance between everything.
Is there any other discussion, questions? Not hearing any. Can I get a
Actually, I have a question. So the carryover is the amount of extra money that we have after we've taken care of our expenses?
Yes.
Okay, so, and we've had carryover every year pretty much, or?
We haven't really added to the carryover in the last couple of years. If you recall, I think it was 2 years ago, we had a large carryover because there was a reconciliation with our funding when we were working with the auditors from a prior school year. So this last year, we were deficit spending, which means we did not add to the carryover.
Okay, so if we're deficit spending, do we compensate for that at the end of the year from the carryover? We take that and...
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what Director Jones is saying. I think all suggestions are good, and we hear Benny, I'm gonna use your first name.
That's good.
We hear your suggestion, and we will take all of those into consideration when we look, district-wide. But in order to maintain any amount of carryover, or have a year where we can add back into the carryover, we have to, our revenue obviously has to exceed our expenditures. We're not there right now. We're in a good place.
We
There's
are.
a lot of good things going on, and I would love to see some restoration at the schools, not just Mount Tipton, but every school had a give this year. And so we're always looking at that.
I don't know if, when you call it extra money, when you build a budget and you use up your money, next year you build a budget and say we need more for this or that. So I don't want to I don't know why people consider it as extra money. It should be used for what's needed, not just keep saying, oh, we need to hold that. If it has a specific use that can help right now, educating children, fixing a building, whatever, it should be used, not held on to and squeezed up. So.
That's a great perspective, but I've been in education for 35 years now, and your revenue is not guaranteed. It's based on student enrollment. And so you do need to have some reserves. We had, as Director Jones stated, a 200 student decline, the empowerment scholarship, the microschools, the other choices that have been made available to parents. You have a decline in students. It's like, even though they're there on the first day of school, our revenue comes in monthly based on enrollment. We have an attendance team that uploads it's not their attendance, their enrollment, but they upload their enrollment every month, and if there's a dip in enrollment in September, then our money is reduced. So while we build our budget, you're absolutely right, we have to build in the expectation that the student population could go up, but it could also go down. And when it goes down, 200 students, that is a little over $1 million. So, and what the state tells us is you have to plan for those contingencies. I love the idea of saying this is how many kids we have and let's use it all, but we've paid the price of doing that by getting behind with declining enrollment.
A small example, my life's been in business, numbers just click. So you have Sears and Roebuck years ago, the biggest people in life, from the catalog days to whatever. They let so many people infiltrate their market and take away. Kmart came, Target came, this came. But you were the king. You should have seen this coming and created, squeeze those guys away. You've had Amazon come in and take over our U.S. Postal Service. So you're the big school district. You got to squeeze these micro schools out, get those kids back in your school. We need to find ways to pull these kids back in so you get the budget.
We work on it all day, every day, and I'd love to have that town hall with you and talk about it in depth. I don't know that it's appropriate for the budget conversation, but.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's literally, it's what I live and breathe all day, every day with our directors group, with our principal groups. What's our enrollment? How can we show the public that we're the best option, so that they're choosing our schools? But when money is available to families and the vendors and the providers don't have to have any qualifications, it's really tempting to take the money from the state instead of giving it to the school system through student enrollment. And it's a battle we have. It really is. And I'd love to meet with you. I'd love to meet with you and brainstorm solutions for that. I really would. So Star can help arrange that.
Yes, she's a great help.
Any other questions or discussion regarding the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn from the public meeting and reconvene into regular?
I move to adjourn from the public meeting and reconvene into a regular meeting.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so there's item 27, possible action to adopt the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026.
I move that we adopt the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026.
I second that.
Is there any other discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 28, approve the listed donations.
I move to approve the listed donations.
I'll second.
Oh,
All those in favor? I
Aye.
get the second
Oh,
every
you got it. Great.
Every now and then.
Aye. Item 29, possible action to approve a memorandum of understanding between Classroom Teacher Preparation Program and Kingman Unified School District.
Vice President Grant and members of the board, you might remember that last month I brought this to you for approval. We tabled for some more investigation, so I'm tickled to tell you that they are definitely accredited through the Association for Advancing Quality in Education Preparation, and they're approved by the Arizona Department of Education. So I'm back to ask for the governing board to approve the MOU with Classroom Preparation Program for the purpose of accepting student teachers.
Thank you for getting that clarification. I appreciate it very, very much. I would like to move that we approve the MOU.
Is there a second?
I would like to second that.
Is there any questions from the board? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Item 30, possible motion to move into executive session for Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.03 to discuss the request to be released from an employment contract for Kayla Handyside, teacher at Servet Elementary School, Oscar Cavazos, teacher at Mount Tempton Elementary School, Wendy Davis, teacher at Manzanita School, and Christian Woodruff, teacher at Manzanita.
I move that we move into executive session.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So we'll be in executive session.
No, actually, I did, Gretchen.
Oh.
But you told me to.
Well, I came down and I took hers.
Jeez, Russ.
It's all my fault.
Can I get a motion to reconvene into regular session?
I move that we reconvene into regular session.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 32, possible action on a request by Kayla Handyside teacher to be released from her 2025-26 employment contract effective June 17th, 2025.
I move that we release Kayla Handyside. We waive the damage fee, but we do report her to the State Department of Ed.
I
For
second
breach of
that.
contract.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 34, possible action on a request by Wendy Davis, teacher to be released from her 2025-26 employment contract effective June 30th, 2025.
I move that we release Wendy Davis from her contract, waive the damage fees, and report her to the State Department of Ed for breach of contract.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 35, possible action on a request by Kristen Woodruff, teacher to be released from her 25-26 employment contract effective July 2nd, 2025.
I move that we release Kristen Woodruff, impose the fine, and report her to the State Department of Ed.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 36 is a...
What about
You
33?
missed 33. with
Oh, I'm so
Oscar.
sorry. Okay, thank you. So item number 33, possible action on the request by Oscar Cavazosis, teacher to be released from his 25-26 employment contract effective June 11th, 2025.
I move that we release Oscar Cavazosis, waive the damage fee, and report him to the State Department of Ed for breach of contract.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then 36. Item number 36, possible action to approve the reclassification for Victoria Edwards and Jess Grime from student information specialist to classified coordinator effective July 1st and authorize staff to issue revised at-will notices to commiserate with the reclassification.
This is President Grant, members of the board. We're proposing to reclassify the student information specialist positions. These positions are based out of the district office, and we're asking that they be reclassified to classified coordinators based on the workload and the way that the job duties that they perform very autonomously. They go out to the schools to make sure that all the schools are doing what they need to report their student information, as we heard. Very important for us to have accurate student information.
So this is just reclassifying the job title to better represent the work they're actually doing?
Yes.
Okay. I move that we approve the reclassification.
I second that.
Has the changes in their job duties been over this last year, or was it that they were misclassified and have always been doing these job duties?
Vice President Grant, members of the board, we did a deep dive into our revenue and looking at our finances and how we gain our revenue. And when we were looking at the jobs that they do, and we realized that Jesse Graham and Victoria are basically dually responsible for our entire revenue system, we realized that this classification has been long overdue. So we have added a lot of work to make sure that our audits are better and that we don't have audit findings, but we also realized at the same time that mistakes in that department are mistakes in our funding.
Yeah.
It's pretty big. Awesome. And they're awesome.
Any other questions from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 37, possible action to approve the reclassification of classified coordinators from student support 7 to district coordinators at the level of school support 9 effective July 1st and authorize staff to issue revised at-will notices to commiserate with the reclassification.
Thank you. Vice President Grant, members of the board, we are proposing the creation of an additional compensation level for classified staff at school support 9, subsequently proposing reclassifying the current classified coordinators to the classification of district coordinator, which would fall in that school support 9 The information based on the rationale behind that classification was in your board packets, but basically, these are individuals that work here at the district office, and they're responsible for district programs. And they're being compensated at a rate that is much below that when we looked at a market study for similar positions.
Any questions from the board?
I don't have any.
How many people are going to be affected by this reclassification?
This would be, once we fill the benefits coordinator, would be 12.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 38, board comments. I have a question. Okay, so is there a reason why our MOUs that we sign every year that have not changed cannot be a part of our consent agenda?
That's a great question.
It is really.
That's a good question.
Like if they haven't changed and it's not new,
I think we would have to look in to see if we can.
We will if we can.
Yeah.
Board Secretary Portillo will call Ashba tomorrow.
I'll
reach out and see if it can be a consent
Does anybody else have any like aversion to putting it in the
No.
consent agenda?
You can still pull it and ask questions.
Absolutely. I was just thinking it might reduce the number of items on the agenda. Absolutely. Wonderful. If there's no other comments.
I would like to make one comment, and I should have done this during board reports, but I didn't think about it till we were past that. In June, this past month, I was able to attend the Beginning Teacher Institute with 2 of our first-year teachers that just finished their first year teaching here that are Arizona Teacher Academy teachers, and it was an amazing conference. Dr. Marsha Tate was there, and she was talking about 20 ways to engage the brain, and she did all of those different things with the conference participants, and both of the teachers looked at me and said, why aren't there more teachers here? Why aren't there more administrators here from Kingman? And I said, that's a great question. You should ask your principal. But it was wonderful to be in that environment and with those teachers and to watch them just gain more agency and confidence as teachers in this profession.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Otherwise, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.